Question 1. In what way does your media product use, develop, or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? My indie pop music magazine was created by pastiching the indie magazine Q. My music magazine is an indie pop hybrid for a mass target audience of 16 to 24-year-olds who will be interested in mainstream indie music and indie fashion. I designed my masthead similar to Q's masthead. I used a red-pink colour for the box of the masthead because this is stereotypical and commonly used in indie music magazines. However, as my target audience is female, I made it slightly pink to turn down the grunge of a regular indie magazine, and mediate it slightly more effeminate and more suited to the music genre of pop. My music magazine is called Bind. This is a combination of the words British and indie. Although this is not particularly easy to figure out when you look at it, I think the word bind itself is catchy and suits the magazine. Also, bind connotes the coming together of two things, which is what my magazine essentially is, the coming together of two genres, indie and pop. I also placed for British indie pop underneath this to suggest it better to the audience. I focused on British music because I thought it was something the current market lacks slightly, as Q, for example, features international music. Therefore, mine will focus solely on British music. I decided to do this because this is where indie music originated from bands such as The Cure and The Smiths, which is why I feel there should be a magazine that focuses on this. My magazine is original and unique because it features British music solely and is aimed at females. I think this unique element of my magazine will create an original selling point which will fill the gap in this market. The font I use for my masthead is called Code. This was taken off dafont.com. I decided to use this because it is simple and denotes contemporary, modern and elegant. An elegant font like this appeals to my target audience of females and represents the atmosphere of my magazine, which is simple, professional and feminine, while still using some codes of an indie magazine, such as the house style. For my cover lines, I used conventions of this Q front cover, using a similar colour scheme of red, gold and black, and feature popular indie bands such as Coldplay and Blur. My main cover line is a fictional character, Vicky, who is the main image on the front cover. This main image is a medium close-up so that the audience can see her posture, clothes and her face, all of which are stereotypical of the indie genre, especially her makeup. However, as she is smiling in the image, this challenges stereotypes because singers or band members on the front cover typically have a serious expression to denote dominance and authority. My model is smiling to create more warmth towards the character and also suit the genre of pop. Medium close-ups are commonly used in music magazines as to allow the audience to instantly establish the genre of my magazine by what the model is wearing and how they are stood. Using a female on the front cover is also common as females are objectified to male gaze, Laura Mulvey 1975, so this will attract a male audience. But as this is targeted to females, this will also attract a female audience as they will see this superstar or star persona on the front of a major magazine as an ideal self, Carl Rogers 1980, because she is pretty, famous, and leads the life that my imaginary entity would dream of living, Yen Ang 1991. This is stereotypical for the cover of a music magazine, even though I have challenged it also. My contents page, I pastiched elements from several different Q contents. I've used similarities such as using 3 columns, the composition of my features on the left hand side, and the contents numbers on my images. I also placed my front cover on top of my image of Vicky to make it clear that this was the cover story. This was also done on the contents of Q and is a common convention of other indie magazines as well. I kept my contents page quite clean and ordered, which challenges the conventions of Q, as Q is quite cluttered and disorganized to connote rebellion. As my magazine was an indie pop hybrid aimed towards females, I did not want too much rebellious suggestion, so this is why I have challenged this and kept my contents neat and quite bright, as I have mainly used white, gold and red. I used a teacher-student mode of address in my contents page as I am communicating to the audience where the articles are in my magazine. This is done in every content of any music magazine. My double page spread also follows the codes and conventions of Q magazine and other indie magazines. I pastiched this double page spread. I used a black and white medium close-up of my model as Q have here with Lady Gaga, and have placed the large red letter behind the text as pastiched from Q. This is very common amongst music magazines, especially Q. I have used an image of my model smiling and laughing. This connotes her to be friendly and carefree, which engages the audience, and creates a warmth towards the character which is essential for the audience to reach a peer-to-peer mode of address in the article itself. I used the peer-to-peer mode of address in my article for this reason, to engage with the audience, allowing them to feel like they are chatting to a friend. A personal article appeals to my target audience. Using this mode of address also allows opportunities for the audience to feel sympathy or empathy for the artist, and also connect with them and feel as if they are involved in the story themselves. Therefore, my peer-to-peer mode of address in this article is essential, and stereotypical of indie music magazines. I edited the image black and white because it flatters my model better, therefore making her appearance better for the sake of my audience seeing her as a role model. And also, black and white has a vintage effect that indie magazines such as Q use regularly, because vintage is very fashionable in the indie community. This vintage effect also makes the image seem more prestigious and elegant, communicating the professional atmosphere that is used throughout my magazine.